everybody.
I'm Melissa
Paul Bunch.
And welcome to the Spirit Code. That was a lot of energy.
That was high energy.
That was on purpose, just to kind of like wake everybody up. Okay. Now back to calm. Let's say a prayer. You know what? I'll do it this time. Right. I haven't said the prayer in a long time.
Like forever.
I know. I usually do it in the sessions, but I don't usually do it for the classes. Good morning. Okay. Let's go ahead. Our Father in heaven, we thank you so much for this lovely day and this opportunity that we have to get together and to love one another and to share thy love and to share thy mysteries and to be able to work together as a team, as we know we are not alone, as we have brothers and sisters walking these paths with us. Thank you so much for the guidance that you've offered us, and thank you so much for the education and for teaching us to do more and be more and to be able to become more like thee. And we're so grateful for the lessons that we learn and for the trials that we've experienced in our life and even the opposition. And we're grateful for the gift of agency and for the atonement. And we ask for protection for ourselves and for all those that are listening, that we may be protected with soundproof shields, so that anything sacred that we discuss at this time will remain sacred. We love thee dearly, Father, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. So, main topics we're going to discuss today. We're going to talk about some of the unfinished material that we added to the website. We are also going to talk about some advanced spirit removal, and then we're going to talk about energies. All right?
Yeah.
Energies in general, not like one specific energy.
Just going to cover that area right there.
That section.
Yep.
Okay, let's get started. All right, so everybody is familiar with the main program page of our Spirit Code program. And just to kind of help everybody, we've had some interesting questions this week, and I just want to help everybody remember that if you are needing some help with self-sabotage, up here at the top, there's a whole self-sabotage section with uploaded videos and steps as well. And then I also do private self-sabotage groups as well. And then here's the energy section that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on the top. I hope that everybody can see it. Yeah. Do we need like a antidote, like a little arrow?
No, I think we'll be okay. But actually, I wanted to comment on the self-sabotage program. So Melissa's going to be doing a class. She just started it a couple nights ago. And the program she's going to do it one class or one step per week. And it's going to take about 3 months to get through it. Or, 3 months or so. But I'm going to be trying to do a video daily to offer support. So I want to throw this out there as a recommendation for anybody that is thinking about going through the self-sabotage program.
And why?
Even on your own, you can go to those steps. And so if you need support, I'm going to be doing those videos. And
so that's only in the self-sabotage.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about posting it on our website as well. So that, or like in the self-sabotage steps. So I'll be creating like an additional link in there for my personal videos. So when if you want to go through and do that program, and you need that additional support, because going through it for like 3 months or so can get to be a little bit of
just exhausting and straining.
It takes a lot of dedication. And so you're probably going to want some additional support. So I'm going to be providing some of that encouragement for you in those videos.
So the whole point of it, though, is because of the living energies. It has to do with your current thought pattern, with making some real changes in your life so that you're not continuously recreating the energy that you're removing.
Yeah. And so I'm going to try and make the videos like 5 minutes or less. I did one yesterday, and it ended up being about 8 minutes, but I'm really going to try to keep it short. So anyway.
there are coaching steps in there, but it's not all just like coaching and personal development. There's a lot of energy work. It actually organizes out a lot of the preparatory steps. So if you have been in the program and you're lost and you're like, I don't even know where to start, it's probably a really good place to start, because it organizes out a lot of your to-do, a lot of your to-do steps, and gives you the homework assignments. And really, I think it kind of makes it doable to figure out, how do I use this program, and what do I do to kind of take those steps. So
it really
that's what I usually recommend to my clients.
It is a really good place to start out with. Like if you do your initial consult, that's fantastic. You got your to-do list, but then you might be wondering, how do I want to proceed to make sure that I stick with it?
Right.
You can,
like, how do I get rid of this? And like, what do I do next? That's when we recommend jump into self-sabotage, do the steps, and then use your consult as your homework assignments.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It's a great way to organize what you're doing. And so the reason why I'm doing a live class right now is so that you're not just given a do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's, okay, who's struggling right now? Let's overcome that. And so we're actually taking a significant amount of extra time so that it's kind of like having a private session for each of the steps, but with, like 6 or 7 different people. So we're keeping it small enough that we can do that. If somebody's like, hang on, I can't get past the manager, something's happening, everybody stops and we all work with that person to make sure that everybody completes the steps together.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this program, obviously we have the training section up here in the top, and we're actually, we're working on changing this around a little bit so that it is going to be put into 3 sections. We're actually 4. Just muscle testing videos, just introductory or preparatory, beginner steps, and then just a little bit of everything.
Intermediate.
Learning the spirit code, intermediate steps, and then the advanced section. And so we plan on organizing. That's actually on my to-do list today. So you should be seeing that over this weekend, that in the training section, the videos are going to be a little bit more organized. So if you do click on training, there's a bunch of documents that are on the right and some slideshows and things that you can read. But the top one is the one that I'm referring to, all of the training videos. So whenever anybody says, oh, can I watch the replay of today's class? This is where they go. Facebook is where you get the link. Facebook is where we can have like daily talks, but Facebook is not where you're getting your training. Facebook is not where the program is. Facebook is just, that instant connection that we can have with each other. So this is where we have our training, and this is where we have all of the replays. And here there's over a year's worth of replays. So this is why we've decided we have to organize it, because there are so many, if you haven't noticed. And each one, and there's more, I did not go all the way down, each one is about 2 hours long. So that's why we think organizing them would be very beneficial for most people. At the beginning, it wasn't necessary. But now that we have over a year's worth uploaded that are all there, we've had a lot of people say that they just don't even know where to start, and they don't know what to do next. And a lot of times I have said it's self-study, pick and choose, but if you don't know what you need to learn, you're not going to know which videos to watch. So that's what we really want to help you guys to find. And we're also going to be working on any of those training videos that are teaching you a specific section, that they're all going to be in that section. So what that means is in the preparatory steps, so you'll be able to find the same video in 2 places. So like if you go into the preparatory steps and you want to do the self-destructive tools of dark influences, it has like a little short 10-minute training video in here, right? So what we're also wanting to do is our long weekend videos, making sure that they're also placed in either the advanced section whenever you do click on that link, or whichever energy that we were teaching that day. If we're doing a 2D energy, making sure it's in with the 2D. So we're working on organizing it a little bit better so you guys can find your way around a little bit more. But any constructive criticism that you guys can give us, we would gladly receive, because we're not teachers. Like, we have all the information and we love teaching, but we're not teachers in such a way that we really know how to give you like the step to step to step. And we're not computer geniuses, so we don't know how to make it perfect for you, so we're doing our best.
Yeah, so part of the problem,
I guess we are teachers. I can't say we're not teachers.
Yeah, part of the problem with that is that it continues to grow and expand.
Right.
And so initially when we put together this program, there was only like a portion of this on here. And so it wasn't like,
and it was perfect really, the way it was.
Yeah, it wasn't like something that was really overwhelming to jump into.
Now there's like 10 times the amount of stuff, and it's like, okay, we've got to figure out a better way to organize this. So if there's changes, don't be afraid of the changes. Just kind of find your way around. And
so initially when we started, if we had planned to create something big, as big as this, we could have put it into like a more instructional format. But at that time, we really didn't.
We didn't know God was going to teach us this much.
Yeah. We'll say it like that.
So, Right. So in other words, like I know I get really frustrated if I can't find something. So if that happens and you're like, they moved it, where is it? Just send us a message and we'll help you find it. But for the most part, we're not going to try and we're not going to be throwing a wrench in it. For the most part, you're going to be able to find most everything. We really just want to organize it better. Okay. So with that being said, as most of you know, we're working on the 3rd volume for our manual. So every time we complete something, not our in-progress stuff, but our actually completed stuff, we are compiling it into this link here. So for me, I don't know. I wish that we could like print off the manual every time we do something new, like add another thing to the manual and then add another. Because I'm a prepper. I want to make sure that if the big EMF wave hits tomorrow that we have this information. And so this is the best that we can do for now, because I think we only have 150 pages uploaded in the 3rd manual. And as you know, in the shop link up here at the top, we have all of our books and all of our manuals that you guys can shop through. And in this, we have our sabotage program, which I have to say, I've added so much to it. I feel like I could practically rewrite it. So we have the program volume 1 and volume 2, and as I just showed you, volume 3 is in the process. And then we have the sabotage book, the compounds and charts, the bonus pack that has all of our books together for a huge chunk off. And then our Healing from Above books, which are included in the all of our books one that's right here for $100. So, and then we just have, I think we only have 1 emotion code left. Two of them? Okay. We had pre-bought like, I don't know, 20 or 30 or 40 or something like that. And so they're almost all sold off. That's why we're selling them for as cheap as possible, just to kind of get, to kind of clear out the inventory. Okay. So down here on the bottom, there's a new section we added this last week called Unfinished Material. And this is what we wanted to talk to you guys about first. You want to say anything?
Well, how about I just introduce this area? So the whole thing about this is Melissa and I, we have a lot of stuff that just flows to us. Like it's hard to keep on top of it. And so there's a
lot
of
stuff we're working on.
Yeah. There's a lot of information that we've documented, but it's not 100% completed. So,
and there's a lot that we haven't documented. So if we haven't yet documented, it won't be in here. If it is barely beginners, it won't be in here. If there's enough information that you might be able to use it and go with it, then it is.
Yeah. And so there's actually probably a couple dozen more documents that we could throw in here.
Right.
But it's not
We're working on it.
Yeah, it's not even near completed. So here are the ones that we think are most important, actually.
Yeah.
So,
and they're all about 75% complete, so you can actually start using them.
And there are 3 dark energies in here. It's the shame dark energy, the annihilation dark energy, and natural man dark energy. And those ones are really important to go through. But they're not ones that you would necessarily want to begin with.
Right.
Go through some of the darker...
I wouldn't even do it with a teenager.
Yeah.
So if you have a teenager that has those 3, I would wait until they're older. It's really like a life experience one, because almost everybody's going to have those 3. It has a lot to do with the fall, the original fall.
So go through and become familiar with the dark energies in the first place, and then...
And we'll show you those in a little bit.
Yeah, and if you've gone through that, then if you feel comfortable in doing these, then go through it. So they're almost actually done. And most importantly, the curse portion of it is in there, and that portion's almost done. But then there is some of the other steps that are that you might be familiar with the dark energies, such as the atonement steps.
That are redundant. That still needs some work.
Yeah, like the worst, the thoughts and memories, just some of the details that you can kind of work through on your own if you feel like you need to.
So with the false organs, we have briefly talked about these in some of our other training classes, but I just wanted to let you know that we have a document where it's not 100%, but it's getting there. And I wish that I had all the time in the world to just sit down and do this. So honestly, if you guys want me, if you guys are sitting there saying, oh, I really wish Melissa would finish these things, send us a donation. Because seriously, if you guys do, then I can cut back on our heavy workload of clients and actually put more time towards putting together these materials. But just like you know, we have rent, we have food, we have gas, water, and electric, and we're not rolling in the dough or living off of donations. So if you feel inspired, one thing that I do want to say about the donations as well is that we have a lot of people who come to us that are homeless or are like living on Social Security or disability, or like they have a fixed income where they literally will talk to them about like what is their financial capability for fair trade exchange. And we will find out that like $5 is a stretch. Oh, let me figure out. Hang on one second. We've got a little bit of background noise. So if $5 is a bit of a stretch, I don't know why this one won't let me mute it. We don't want to turn anybody away. We want to help everybody. I'm sorry, there's a little bit of background noise. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Hey, Brenda, I can't mute yours. Are you able to mute yours on your end? Brenda's the only one that for some reason it won't let me mute. I'm not sure if that's where the noise is coming from or not. Okay, sorry. I'm getting distracted from, okay. So with the donations, like we want to be able to help everybody regardless of whether or not they have that financial capability of paying for their sessions. So if you do have that ability and you are able to offer a donation to be able to help support that cause, please do. Or if you are like, I really wish that they would finish some of these energies, throw in a donation. It'll absolutely help us, so that like yesterday we had like 7 straight sessions, and I swear by the end of the day I was like mind numb and could hardly stand this straight. And I'm like, we have so many things that we're in the middle of doing that we really need to get finished, but I don't have anything left. Okay, so that's where we kind of come to these false organs, okay? And what we do have is we understand for the most part that it is rejecting your emotions, rejecting the pain that you go through. And so we do have a nice little handy dandy chart. And this is not end all be all fact that this is the only thing that you could be storing in these different organs. It's just an idea to kind of get you thinking, okay? And then down here, we do have some of the steps. So this is very, very close to being done. The only reason why I do not have this as completed is because I really still need to perfect it. So from here down is what I'm still kind of working on perfecting. I want it to flow really smooth, and I want everybody who does this to be able to walk away having it completed without any sort of, I don't know, any sort of difficulties. Okay. So the false organs looks great. The weight loss looks great. Spiritual etchings is still just notes. So the weight loss, this one will be complete once I actually start dropping weight from the work. Until then, it's going to stay unfinished. Because I noticed when I started energy work, and I've had a lot of you guys come to me saying, as soon as I started practicing energy work, I packed on the pounds, and I don't know why. And they're like, I have not changed my eating. I mean, I may be sitting more with my clients, but not enough to put on, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. And so that is what I have been working on studying. I figure if it's happening, there's a need. It's not just emotional eating. It's not just, poor food choices. I really do believe it comes down to what's in this document that I'm calling stuck energy. And I believe that is like the huge catch for most of you energy workers, is that it's also called blue moon energy or junk energy. And it is energy from other people's energetic body that is getting stuck within you. So as you're releasing it from somebody else, some of you are taking it on yourselves as opposed to letting it go. And I believe it kind of comes to this whole hearing somebody's story and feeling so much sympathy and compassion for them and wanting to make it better and forgetting God's the one that's making it better. And so we subconsciously take it on because we want to relieve that burden for them. So we actually have the stuck energy written in 2 different spots because it was such an important component that he has no stuck fat, but it does have stuck energy. So it's in its own document over here as well. And we're finding that it's in different body parts, plus it's also in your energetic fields. Your energetic body, not just your energetic fields. So this one is a little bit more thorough, but as you see step 4, I'm still working on that step. So that one is not complete. And in fact, my notes has a couple of steps that I haven't uploaded here yet because I'm still working on how to remove it properly from the energetic body. Something that I saw was along the lines of inputting these memories and this energy into your own brain's hard drive and recognizing these are not my memories. This is not me. Because your body has adopted it, and that's why it's called blue moon energy. Your body's adopted it, and it's like trickster energy. And so once your body's adopted it as its own, you can't release it when it's not your energy because it has the energetic body of somebody else. And so putting it in your hard drive seems to be a acknowledgement to the body that this is not mine. This is not my energy, and I'm ready to remove it. So that's what I'm working on in some of those steps. But they are absolutely worth kind of getting familiar with. And the parts that are not complete, try and see if Heavenly Father can teach you and guide you. Like that is what I'm doing. I am sitting back and I am listening to the Spirit, waiting for revelation, waiting for vision, asking for those things. And a lot of trial and error. And I usually can feel the direction that we need to go. And then we test it out. And I did the weight loss section with the stuck energy and I dropped like 4 pounds in 2 days. And I was so excited. And then it plateaued immediately. And I'm like, okay, obviously we're not done. Obviously there's something else to this stuck energy that God was just kind of like, okay, you're doing good. Don't give up. But you're still not there. You still don't have the whole thing. So it is definitely up there with like a priority on my list. And then the forgotten memories, you guys, this is pretty amazing. The section is different traumas have made you forget who you are. And so you're going through to figure out what different events have caused you, so much trauma that you developed a new belief system about yourself and about the world. And going through and figuring out what that forgotten memory is like, oh, I forgot that I wanted to be a nurse and help people and love others. Like as soon as I got so familiar with hospitals and nurses, I didn't want to have anything to do with being a nurse. Or, oh my goodness, I forgot I wanted to have 10 kids after I had the first one and he had ADHD and autism and was like bouncing off the walls. And all of a sudden I'm like, my hands are full, one's enough. And I totally forgot I wanted 10 children. I forgot that I wanted to be a mother. Like I got so overwhelmed with the trials and the traumas and the stress of life, I forgot the direction that I was going originally.
Yeah. Those forgotten memories are also associated with the annihilation dark energy.
Yes.
So there's some wording in the annihilation dark energy that's different from the forgotten memories one because I ended up putting them together 2 different points of time. And so anyway, they're similar, but there's some differences in there. But it's all the same object or the goal that you're working towards right there.
And if you haven't caught on yet, the goal that we're working towards is removing all darkness from our bodies, from our minds, from our spirits, from your energy fields, your energetic body, so that you are ready to live the higher law naturally. Your automatic thoughts and automatic emotions are naturally living the higher law, ready for the second coming so that you can turn around and help others as other people are preparing for Christ's return. And I'm kind of thinking like visions of glory, like walking to New Jerusalem type of prep work. And so that you're ready for translation. Because I really do believe all of this is going to happen in our lifetime. And we need to start really kicking it up. That this is not just, oh, I have a symptom, I have a headache, what's causing my headache? Like we're really going to the root of your spiritual health, your spiritual well-being. Where is your spirit going? Like, let's remember, that's kind of the point of the forgotten memories in my mind, is your spirit has a purpose and a plan. Your spirit knows where it wants to go. Your spirit knows the direction that you wanted in the preexistence with this life and what all you wanted to accomplish. It's the trials and the traumas and the natural man that has totally kicked you off guard. It has kicked you off of that original, path that you had been on. Maybe not off the iron rod, but has just kicked you off of the path that like you're just making it each day, just surviving, just trying to get by, just trying to pay your bills and get along with your kids and your spouse and just ready to go back home, right? But that's not the purpose of your spirit. Your spirit has a much greater purpose here. And this is what we really want to focus on, is getting back to being a pure light and love, the way that God created you, with unlimited potential. And Christ has told us that we could do anything. Like in the scriptures, he said that we can do everything he can do and more, but we're not. So we are obviously off track. We are all just focusing on, I don't deserve to be loved. I don't deserve the atonement. I don't deserve to be forgiven. I'm not good enough. I'm all alone. There are so many faulty thought patterns that make us that we don't even feel like we're worthy of the atonement, and we're not even worthy of God's love. And the fact is, those thought patterns have become a way of life to the point where we have lost track of our goal. And so that's another reason why I think the self-sabotage program is awesome. It helps you to kind of get there. Okay. Now the advanced spirits. We don't want to scare you with the advanced spirits, but they definitely are on top of our normal rebellious spirits. There are some bigger, badder guys that, for the most part, up until now, people have just contacted us like, what do I do? And we're going, okay, let me see. I have a document on this somewhere. We've decided we need to organize this, and we need to get this out here. This will be in the advanced section. Right now, it's in the unfinished materials. It's actually really close to done. We just need to include the hollow to make it current and up to date with what we know on the spirits that are above just the rebellious spirits.
But we can talk about the hollow, and we'll add it in there a little later.
Okay. So this is one of the main things. We want to put about a good 30 or 40 minutes into just the advanced spirits today. So the big bad guys, also known as the big bad. That's what I call them all the time. So that's what we're referring to whenever I'm saying, okay, you've got the rebellious spirits, but then you've got the big bad guys. So these are some of the big bad guys. And each one is completely different in their removal process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to talk about?
Demons, anti-gods, or antichrists, whatever title you resonate with. False spirits, false angels, alternate spirits, Lucifer's children, or sons of perdition, shapeshifters, the serpent, and then we will be talking about the hollow, which we'll be documenting and hopefully getting. Today we don't have any clients, so today we should be getting a couple other things done today, and grocery shopping and maybe a nap. But
I've got other plans too.
and he wants to grow crystals. Man, we need like 84-hour days. Wouldn't that be awesome? That'd be awesome. Okay, so let's talk about demons. Begin.
So we've talked about various rebellious spirits and different types of spirits that are following the adversary.
And hang on, before you kind of move on to this, let's do a quick overview of what a rebellious spirit is.
Yeah, I was going to do that.
Yay, good job, thank you.
So typically, when we think of a spirit that is trying to harm us or cause us havoc, whatever you want to think of it as doing, those are spirits that will typically be under the category of a rebellious spirit, and that encompasses like the vast majority of those spirits. I don't know what percentage, but I would say probably at least 90% or more.
I usually guesstimate my percentage depending on how I'm feeling that day.
So
we're making up the percentage just based upon how many times we come across the big bad guys.
So the term rebellious spirit is like an umbrella term that will encompass like the vast majority of them.
The vast majority of people in spirit prison.
Yeah. So also, when you want to do this, bring them to light just to make sure that they do not remain hidden.
Right, because they will. And you don't want to spend your whole time just looking for the buried ones, the hidden ones, the secret ones. All like somebody once told us that there is like, I don't know, dozens upon dozens upon dozens of layers of different types of spirits that they would have to sort through.
All they have to do is just figure out a different name for themselves.
Right. Absolutely. They can call themselves something else. And so if you're removing...
You didn't name me, so I'm still here.
Right. If you're removing an entity or disembodied or some of the other different titles that are out there, exactly, they can get through a lot of that.
Okay, so the ones that do not fall under the category of rebellious spirit are ones that we're going to work on today, and just reviewing it. We're not going to go through everything step by step because it'll take way too long. But I want to give you a general idea of what each one of these are, okay? So first off, we're going to start discussing the demons. And this is one that I don't think we've actually discussed before here in our program. So this might be a new one for you. So a demon, when we think of it...
And hang on, let me jump in right now. Why do we even need to know this? Is so that you don't walk around constantly having attacks, constantly having sabotages, constantly feeling as though something is still there. And so if that's the case where you're like, I've had people clear my space, I'm clearing my space like every other hour, and it's just exhausting. These can be like, go through and test and see if this could be one of the deeper reasons why you are struggling so much with getting your space clear. Oh yeah. We definitely don't bind these spirits. So Michelle Tolman asked, why don't you bind these spirits?
Yeah, we'll actually talk about that at the end of this because it's related to one of the spirits that we have to remove.
Which one?
The hollow.
Oh, you think that's the only one that's related to?
As far as we know, yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely don't want to bind them. Okay.
Okay, so with the demon, let me explain what it is first. And this is something I hope you can understand because it's not a really easy concept, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. So a demon is actually not one spirit, but multiple fragments of a spirit combined together. Okay, so you may take, or somebody who's creating a demon may take maybe 1,000 small fragments of various rebellious spirits.
And if you want to know how we figured this out, it took a whole team of people to figure this out. Definitely not just one person to try and figure out the demon information. It's a whole team of people that we're all working together.
And so so another thing about this is rebellious spirit can actually take a portion of your spirit and include that in there. So it doesn't have to be those who
That's
are already,
more rare.
Yeah.
So I actually took out some of those steps because that's a lot more rare and it's a lot more confusing. Yeah. So we're really just focusing on the fragments of the spirits that are in spirit prison.
And to tell you the truth, you don't really even have to identify that. It doesn't matter so much. Just know that there's different fragments of spirits combined into this one. And then what happens is the rebellious spirit that wants to use this demon, he or maybe she will take a portion of his spirit and put it into the demon. And then the demon essentially becomes kind of like a puppet. And so, so let me just kind of review the steps here. There's not a lot to it, but what you have to do what you have to do in removing it is place 4 swords into it. And so after that, it basically scatters all of these pieces. And then you want to make sure that you offer those pieces a little bit of healing and send them back to where they originally came from. Okay? That's the general idea behind it. All right. Should we go on?
Okay.
Do you have any more
I do want to say about like this, we're putting like swords in their different chakra points and that it's really like sending godly love, right? Did you say that? It's like a strong positive. It's not like pain. It's not like blood. It's not attack.
Right. So the swords that we place into a rebellious spirit or any other,
it's really just a false spirit or false angel or a demon that we really place the swords.
Or, well, there's other instances we can use that as well, but you're putting in a light sword. It's
like the light of God, the love of God.
It's not going to harm them, and it's actually going to give them a more of like an awakening. And so
it's like if they're 100% dark, it's putting that 1 or 2 or 3% light back into them to give them a choice again.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
With all the darkness that's within them, Lucifer has pretty much taken away all of their agency. Okay, so this works. Every single time, this works on getting rid of a demon. We haven't found any case in which this does not, these steps do not work.
Yeah.
So if that is something that you're experiencing, go through the steps. Like, I like to see it. What I like to do is I like to read it so I know what's going on, and then I close my eyes and I see it and I actually do it. So if you are practicing your spiritual sight and your spiritual traveling, this is when I recommend practicing it. As I was saying before in our last class with spiritual traveling, you don't want to just travel just for fun and pleasure, because that is going to open you up to a lot of problems. So when you are doing it if you are wanting to practice it, this is going to be one of those times. So let's say you are aware that there's a demon that has been influencing your family. Lay down, close your eyes, focus on it, get these steps pretty familiar in your mind as to what you're going to do. Have it nearby if you need to, so you can reference back and forth. But close your eyes and spiritually travel to where the demon is and actually physically do these steps. Mm-hmm. Like, your spirit will do it whether or not your consciousness is traveling with your spirit.
Yeah, put your faith in this and make sure you do it with confidence. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, because you don't want to be overtaken. If you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, like, you could be overtaken. So make sure that you do the steps, you do it with confidence, like boom, 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 boom. It's not like a slow thing. So boom, 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 boom was the different types of godly swords that we're putting in their chakras. It's actually their dark chakras. They don't have their light chakras anymore. So it's dark chakras that you're putting them into to kind of waken them back up and give them back their agency.
All right. So the next thing we're going to cover is the anti-gods. And so
anti-heavenly mothers, heavenly fathers, and antichrists.
Right. And
remember, there's opposition in all things. So that's why there's 3 different types.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And there's more than what's on our list. Okay. This is just as much as we could do. We were testing that there are hundreds of names. So if you come across a name that is not on this list, do it. You know, if you're muscle testing, oh, it's an antichrist, and you go through the whole list and it's not there, then open up your mind to whoever it is. You don't necessarily have to have the name, but as long as you have a pretty good understanding, it helps. It really does significantly help for you to know who you're dealing with and the direction that you're going. Otherwise, they might outsmart you. And these are the ones that if you've ever tried to clear a spirit and they laugh at you, it's probably an anti-god. For the most part. That's what they do.
All right, so there's several ways to remove these, and we provide some different options here. So there's not necessarily like, it depends on what the situation is with that anti-god.
Yeah.
And so
we give them all to you, so you can just try them all out.
Yeah. So you may go through these, and maybe none of them are going to work. You're just going to have to continue to learn and experiment more and see what does work for you. But if there's a situation like that, turn to God and allow Him to direct you. Because these anti-gods, they're not anything that you really want to
mess
around with.
There are, okay. This is the hardest one that you will ever come across.
Yeah, so if you do have a situation where nothing's working, you can also contact us and we'll work it out with you. Okay?
And this doesn't include Lucifer, but it does not include the beast, which is actually the opposition that taught Lucifer how to be Lucifer, or who taught Satan how to be Satan. So you will never come across that. I can promise you that. You will never come across that particular person unless you are actually seeking it out. Please don't seek it out. So,
all right. So we also provide a shielding for you against anti-gods. And keep in mind that this is really more of a deterrent. And the anti-gods can, if they want to, they can get through it if they put some effort into it. Mm. But, just put, and it still works very well.
It does. It will remove them, but they have to respect the Merkaba. And a lot of times this is all you need to do is this step 3. Working on this Merkaba, which takes care of the merging, the courting, one in your presence, one if you've been swapped in the portion. They're all in the steps.
So so this is the best option to start out with, and and quite frankly, the easiest option to start out with.
But if it doesn't work, then we go to step 4, and then the cooperative anti-god.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. That was so funny. I laughed at it when I wrote that. I thought that was a very clever thing to put in there.
So like I said, these anti-gods, they're going through various situations. And I mean, they're just like people. I mean, they're just on the other side. They're like people, they go through ups and downs, we'll just say.
It's basically if Hitler kept on getting meaner and meaner and badder and more horrible, what would it look like?
Yeah. So at some point, people will break. And anti-God is the same way. At some point, they might be like, no, this just isn't really going very well for me, and I kind of want something different. And enough with the misery, the suffering, and all the forms of control. And so they might actually get to a point where you can begin working with them. And this is where they're looking for a different direction in life or in their existence. And so you can actually assist them in this process. And this isn't one that's necessarily going to be a common situation, but it does happen. And the Lord, when this does happen, the Lord is going to assist you.
Which one? Any anti-God or the cooperative anti-gods?
Yeah. The Lord's going to assist you with this, okay? You're not going to be doing this alone. He's kind of set you up for success, and there's really only one thing you need to be aware of if you test for this. If you ask, do I have the anti-God's heart in my presence or maybe in my hand?
And this is not your first step with an anti-God. Yeah. That's
the first question you want to ask about it.
And the way that I see it is if you put up those Merkabahs and they do not depart, it might be because they were kind of hoping for some help. Mm-hmm. So that's why the cooperative, it's a joke, but it's also kind of accurate as well. Before we finish what we're talking about, though, I just want to bring to your attention step 4 was flexing your Merkabahs. And so your Merkabahs are your structured shields, which we have actually a lot in the advanced section. Like almost everything in the advanced section has a Merkabah for protection. And so you pull it in like a bodysuit and you pop it out like a balloon. Pull it in like a bodysuit, pop it out like a balloon. You only need to do that like once or twice as like a second step. Like if you have an anti-God and then like the next day they're back and you're going, oh my goodness, I thought I had a Merkabah. Just flex them and that should take care of it. But if it doesn't, that's where you move on to this cooperative one, saying, okay, obviously Heavenly Father's asking me to do something else. And so if you do need the advanced section, you just contact us and we will talk to you about it. We really just don't want anybody to become overwhelmed, and that is why we pace you. And even though it doesn't look like we pace you, it looks like we give you all the information and we're like, here, bleh, it's all here, take what you want. But we have had some people that have run faster than they had strength, and then they burned out. And so we have tried to put some of the harder things like these advanced spirits and some of the other more advanced topics in the advanced section. So pray about it. If you feel inspired that is something that you need to understand and you're ready for it, then contact us. And we usually just want to kind of text back and forth, call, something like that, just to make sure that you're ready, and then we'll unlock it to you. And if we've talked to you a bunch, then we probably will already know whether or not you're ready. So that's really the only step that we need to do to help you gain access. And then Kendra asked a question, but we'll answer that in a little bit after we're done talking about the anti-gods. Okay.
All right, so getting back to whether or not you can determine if this anti-God is going to cooperate with you, you can muscle test.
Ask an angel.
Or ask an angel and ask if that anti-God's heart is in your presence. Yeah. And then after that,
the anti-God's going to mess up your testing. So that's why a lot of times we'll just say, is there an angel in my presence? Yes. Oops. Angel, is there a chance that I have this anti-God's heart with me? And God will give it to you. You don't even have to ask for it. If it is time for that anti-God to have it, it'll be in your hands. You won't even have realized that God gave it to you. It's kind of like sometimes we need payment for certain things. And like if we are doing a spirit rescue with some of our work, we will, I'll look down, I'll be like, hey, I'm holding the payment. It's pretty cool. And then it's like God has already paid for your freedom. Okay.
All right. In this, there's some lessons, some principles behind this as to understand. So to help you understand why we go through the following steps. Okay. Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of different lessons.
Yeah. Okay. So we're not going to cover all those right now, but I just want to make sure that you understood that there are some situations that you need to be aware of, and
specifically the deception infection.
Yeah.
That one you do need to be aware of. And we do have that in the pathogen section because some people will actually have it themselves, but the anti-gods and a lot of the big bad guys have been given the deception infection, and it keeps them dark, keeps them brainwashed. So that one can be a little bit tricky. If you have a deception infection and you do not remove it yourself, okay? If your husband has one, you can remove your husband's. If you're, if you are working with an anti-god and they have it, you can remove theirs. But if you have one and you're trying to remove it on yourself, don't do it. Call up a friend, call up us, call up somebody who's a practitioner in the program, call up somebody else to do it for you. Never try to do it on yourself. It will escalate really badly, really quickly. Okay. And then removing a mask and dealing with the chakras. These are just all the different steps that you may or may not have to do for this anti-god. So if you're kind of catching on to what we're doing, you can't cast them out. You can't just pray them away. I mean, I would assume that this is just like the bigger, more intense. Okay, about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, for lack of better words, like the adversary escalated. He advanced. The anti-gods were released. Like the things that had been withheld for so long and had been kept away from our planet for so long have been loosed. So that is why this is even something that has popped up. It's been popping up a lot. And that's why we've realized we just have to make this easier for you guys. We have to do everything we possibly can to help you guys to have that self-reliance so you can do this on your own. Because otherwise these are the things, this will mess up your muscle testing like nobody's business. The anti-gods will mess up like anything and everything. They love playing with our computers and ruining our computers too. So doing these steps is very critical if you have one in your presence. And sometimes they're so good and tricky you won't know unless somebody else tests for you. So reach out if you need somebody else to test for you. And what I'll sometimes do is I won't be testing you if I ask. I will be testing an angel in my presence and asking one of the angels in my presence if you happen to have an anti-god that is influencing you. And that will give me a more clear picture. Because if I try to go to your presence and muscle test, it will still come out deceived. And that's just, the anti-gods are just really good at what they do. Okay. Anything else? And then just a couple of different options here. Do you want to explain either of these two options, or do you want to move on to the next section?
Just move on.
Okay. All right. False spirits and false angels. Paul, would you like to take the reins? I talk a whole lot anyway, so I know you know this, so you might as well go ahead and take the stuff.
Okay, so false spirit and false angel, they actually are two different ones, but I wrote this up together, but we'll probably actually separate them in the future. So false spirit is one that is pretending to be you. Okay, so this spirit is going to be in your body. It's going to be testing as you, and so that's
you'll be testing 100% in your body, and it's still not you.
Yeah, so this is something that you're probably going to feel like something is off, and so
and this isn't the same as the anti-polar
right
thingy that I was talking about on Facebook recently. That one I'm still working on.
And so the false spirit is something that you may also have to have somebody else test for you, and maybe even test through an angel, because it's going to be very tricky.
Yeah, it is.
And so with this, you're going to have to figure out where your spirit is, but don't worry so much about the details.
He's like, you're just going to have to figure it out. No, yeah. It's really hard when you're doing it for yourself. Yes. If you have a false spirit, you really need somebody else's help. But you can give them the steps if they have spiritual sight and have them do those steps.
Yeah, so really, really what you need to do is have somebody else assist you and gather up your spirit pieces for you. And you can maybe invite them to return. But the thing is about this, you want to make sure that the false spirit isn't aware that your spirit is being pieced back together. And so you're going to have to do this quietly and probably cloaked as well would be best. So having the practitioner or whoever else is assisting you, instruct them to cloak themselves while they're gathering up your spirit, and then go through the following steps to remove it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I'm working on somebody else who has a false spirit, I just don't tell them until I'm done.
Yeah, that would be best.
I just tell them I'm removing some big bad guys from their presence and taking care of some spiritual influences. And then once I'm done, it works. But if I tell them ahead of time, so you've got a false spirit and I'm working on the swap, then the false spirit will fight back and it's much harder. That's why, another reason why you can't do it on yourself.
Okay, so for the false angel, what this is rebellious spirit.
A false angel or false spirit? False angel, right?
False angel.
Okay. And all the steps are here, you guys. Like, there's always an explanation and then step by step. And we make sure everywhere in the program, explanation and all of the different steps so that you learn it as you go. You don't have to like learn everything in advance. You literally can.
Just the dog shaking.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It sounded like a door opened.
Just the dog.
We're talking about like advanced spirits.
Okay. It was just the dog shaking.
All right. Okay. So I just want to let you guys know, even though we're not telling you what the steps are right now, they're in there. Okay.
All right. With the false angel or the dark angel, what this is a rebellious spirit who is wearing some heavenly robes. And so it appears to be a heavenly angel to you. And so with this...
And this one makes me sad.
Yeah.
This one makes me like cry every time.
So with this, what we need to do is make sure that the false spirit removes those robes so that we can cast them out. And so what we do is just place the sword of the spirit into them until that robe is removed. And then we ask for an orb to come and gather up those robes to take them to the most appropriate location. Okay. And so with this, there's also covenants made and some anti-gifts that are accepted. And we walk you through removing those anti-gifts and removing the covenants as well. Okay. So that is something that is actually fairly common for somebody to fall prey to the deceit. And these false angels will appear to us at particular times, typically at the age of 3, 8, 16, 40, and when we get married. And so there might be some other times, but those are the ages and time periods that we've identified at this time.
That it'll sometimes happen. I have a couple of different comments that we need to address. One came from my mother, and she wanted to know, she said that my brother that we had previously tested that he had a false spirit, but he does not give us his permission. So what do? We can't do anything. I hate to say it. We can't do anything. We cannot correct it until it is something that he wants. And I know that sounds harsh because we, if his spirit is swapped and there is suffering happening to his spirit, it would be really nice if we could fix it. Like there are certain lines that we have to respect. And so it's one of those really difficult things. A lot of people say that they'll ask their higher self or they'll get that answer through prayer. But I have to say, you guys, that when we bypass mortal agency, you're playing with fire. And yes, you're respecting their spiritual agency, but if you bypass that mortal agency, you will open up yourself to more attacks. You open up yourself to possibly some darker influences that are going to deceive you and lead you astray. So as hard as it is, you just have to wait. And then Tina said, even if we do fix it for somebody else, it would just come back. Exactly. Because if you fix it and sorry, I'm getting a couple of messages coming through. If you fix it and it is something that they chose, it will immediately come back. So it's kind of, difficult to address.
Until they change their thought patterns and the things that they're participating in life, it's going to likely continue.
And so then my mother said that His spirit says he's willing. Technically, you're not allowed to muscle test him if he has not given you permission. So that does simplify this significantly, that if you do feel that somebody in your family has these things, and so you start asking your spirit or asking an angel in your presence, is that something that they're struggling with? It's going to make it harder on you to respect their agency. So I highly recommend just not even crossing that boundary until the person that you're talking about, even if it's your child who's grown up and moved on and does not want to participate in this. So no matter what, respect their conscious agency. We've had, and in fact, a few of you guys who are listening, you'll know who I'm talking about. There's a lady who's in our program who her whole family hates energy work and hates energy workers. And it is a very strong issue that they are all dealing with in her whole family, because the mother, all of these grown-ups, their mother had practiced energy work on them. They had gotten permission like 10 or 15 years before they had given her permission to do little things like, you can help me with the flu, you can help me with the cold, please help me with this, please help me with that. And so she used that as permanent permission, and had been working on them for many, many years, and it caused the whole family to fall apart. All of the siblings are, if I'm not misquoting some of the different stories, they're kind of always, at each other. There's a lot of conflict, a lot of problems, a lot of conflict. Everybody was very angry with her. It tore the family apart. So please respect that mortal agency, as well as, even if the spirit is begging for it. There's only one time that I will bypass that, and that is with the demonic realm, because that has gone against your agency entirely, and you are that person's spirit is in a very dark location. Okay. 2 other things had been come up in the text. One had come up saying that that when we were talking about the anti-gods, that it sent one of you into some anxiety. And my thoughts are, you probably have an anti-god in your presence that is causing you to feel that way, that they are probably a little bit panicked that the solution is here. So what I want you to do, I'm not going to say who you are unless you actually want me to say who you are. I want you to flex your Merkabas. I know you have Merkabas. Pull your Merkabas in like a body glove, flex them, pop them out, and go ahead and go through the steps.
Yeah, so
that's what I was going to say. A soundproof shield. Put up a soundproof shield. So close your eyes and take some time to ask for a shield that makes you soundproof and invisible, so that they are not spying on you and causing that anxiety. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the intent with this isn't to live in fear over these things, is to know how to resolve this with confidence, okay?
And if you are feeling fear, it may not be coming from you.
Let me explain that Melissa and I, we get attacked by these rebellious spirits very frequently, okay? And it's a learning process. Let me just kind of say that when we were sent down to this earth, we were expecting opposition, okay? Mm-hmm. So this opposition comes in all forms. And when we think of the spirit war, it's not as though the spirit war stopped when we came down to this earth. Okay?
And everybody knows that pretty much. Right. We have 16 people. Hi, everybody.
So the spirit war continues. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We know that different influences in the world, but the thing is, when we trust in our Father in heaven, we're in trust that He's going to assist us in removing those influences. The more that we recognize it, and the more that we're able to do that, we're going to develop the faith more so in God that this can be done. Okay?
And you are not vulnerable. I know that we're telling you that these things are out there and that these things are possible, but that is also what we're doing too, is offering you the protection and the knowledge of how to remove them.
But keep in mind that the idea that all opposition is removed from us, it's just not going to happen, okay? So we're helping you to refine yourself to work through these different forms of opposition, and you're going to continue moving on to different forms, okay? So
and it's just strengthening you.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You could be stuck on one form of opposition your whole life, but I don't think that's ideal for you. So the more that you learn and grow and know, you're going to move on to different forms of opposition. Okay, so if you remove an anti-God, chances are there's probably going to be another one.
At some point.
Yeah, at
not
some
like
point,
right away.
Right.
We're talking like maybe another 6 months down the road that is harder.
Yeah.
That way you kind of get to practice a few different techniques.
Right. So if you, just starting back on removing basic rebellious spirits, fantastic. You can remove those continually, but you're going to have to develop a little bit more information. And as you do that, the rebellious spirits are just going to become more challenging. Okay. There's a level of teaching here that the Lord is also trying to walk us through. So if you pass the first grade of rebellious spirits, you move on to the second grade and then the third grade. Okay, so I know this may sound scary and overwhelming, but the thing is, that's what we're here to learn, how to deal with higher forms of opposition. So don't be scared of it. The thing is, you've likely already passed several different forms of opposition, and so the Lord is giving you a higher form. And so have confidence in yourself and have confidence in God. And as you do so, you put your trust in him. He's going to walk you through whatever is needed for you to overcome that form of opposition, and whatever it may be, whether it's a rebellious spirit or even an anti-God. Okay, so don't be scared of this. Like I said, Melissa and I, we have been attacked in so many different ways. It would be like one thick book if I wrote down all.
That's why we have 1,000 pages already.
It would be like probably another 5,000 pages if I described all the ways in which Melissa and I have been attacked, because they just come up with so many different creative ways. But the thing is,
and that's why I'm not losing weight, is because God's like, no, you still need to learn something to teach other people, because other people are suffering for reasons other than weight. I mean, other than food choices, other than exercise, other than toxins and hormones and traumas, that there's more. And so it's not going to work for me until we learn everything that everybody needs.
Okay. So one more very important aspect of this that we don't think about, okay? This is actually very important for us to realize. We are their opposition, okay?
Ooh, it's like the drama triangle, but with spirits.
But what does that mean? We are their opposition, meaning that we
drive them crazy too, don't we?
We have the opportunity to turn them towards God.
This is why we don't bind.
They are trying to turn us towards Satan or the adversary. It is our responsibility to wage this war in the manner in which God desires for us to do this, and to do it in his name, and to help bring those lost sheep back into Christ's fold.
And do it in such a way that you're not pulled down and you're not deceived, which is why we have to be very careful with how we handle it.
So you're actually going to be working as a missionary to these dark spirits. Yeah. Okay? That is actually the form of opposition that God would like for us to act as.
But follow the steps. If you're doing the missionary work, still follow the steps. Don't just presume it'll work the same for all of them. You will get deceived. You will have troubles and complications. So please follow the steps as you are doing the missionary work. They need to go hand in hand.
Yeah. So Melissa and I, a lot of times we'll just simply cast them out, because we, like I said, we have so many forms of opposition in the forms of rebellious spirits attacking us so frequently. We don't have time to necessarily work on helping them to all come and become like a angel in training is what we call them. But ideally, that's what we would be doing. Okay. If I had the time, I would do it.
If this was our calling, like if we were just an angel, then that would probably be where we would be right now.
Right. And so just keep that in mind, that you have the power to act as God's missionary here on earth in preaching to those who are in spirit prison. That's actually what you're doing. Okay. And it's actually really awesome. So there's nothing to be really overly concerned about, because God's going to back you up with this. Okay. All right.
I just wanted to address really quick that To the person who is having some issues with talking about the anti-gods, I'm going to duplicate my Merkabahs and send you my Merkabahs so that you have the protection that you need. So just give me, can you go ahead and read the comment and see if you can address the comment? Chat.
Trying to find it.
Right
there.
there.
Yeah, there we go.
Go up a little bit to this one.
Right here. So what about those spirits that like to talk, and sometimes there can be many voices, or even I have heard them, heard the term henchmen. Where would those be on the list? So most likely those are just going to fall under the category of rebellious spirits. Okay, so once again, you can communicate and preach back to them and say, hey, you can hang around, you can give me all your spew on why I should turn bad, but I'm going to give you my spiel on why you should be good. Okay?
Yeah, for the most part, you just need shields and the protection to remove them. But if that's not working, then it could be any of these. Like, I would muscle test to find out which one it is. Ooh, hang on, somebody's sound is, oh, you fixed it. Awesome.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Somebody's sound was doing the reverb thingy.
Yeah. So if you'd like to just send us a note instead, that'd be fine.
Mm-hmm. So what is the, please send one to me.
The Merkabahs.
Oh, the Merkabah. Okay, yeah, Cindy, I'll work on duplicating my Merkabahs for you as well. If you want to go ahead and go on to the next step, Paul. Okay, Cindy, hold on.
All right, so we were talking about the false angels and the way to work with them. I think that we covered that enough, and so let's continue to move on. So alternate spirit. This is a very complicated explanation, but we're trying to make this as simple as possible.
Don't forget the binding of spirits.
Right. So the alternate spirit, what we're gonna, hold on. Excuse me.
This one's hard to explain.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so for the alternate
spirit, we're not
spirit,
going to be able to give you like the full details on this. We'll just give you what you're ready for.
This is another spirit that will.
Go ahead.
This is another spirit that will also jump into.
I don't know where the reverb is coming from. I can't mute that. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so this is another spirit that will tend to jump into you and become part of you. And it's going to be sometimes hard to identify. So when you do this, it's going to be like a portion of your spirit that you imagine pulling out of you and swapping with your true spirit. And so, again, just go through the steps as we've provided. And yeah, so this one here, I don't feel like I really need to talk a lot about, but just be aware that it is there, and it's very common. And so anytime when we work with somebody, we're going to be looking for this one. So some of these are going to be more common than others, and this is going to be a very common one. Okay, so it's going to be just a portion of your spirit that is swapped with another portion of a spirit. Okay, as an example, like let's say my arm was swapped out with another rebellious spirit's arm. Okay, and that's the easiest explanation that I'll provide.
We may have to do the anti-God thing for everybody. I think there's too many people that, even putting up like the shield, we may have to go back through those steps so everybody can kind of go through the steps together.
Okay, so for the Lucifer's children, we've discussed this in other videos and brought this topic up a few different times. So I'm not going to really discuss this a lot, and it has its own section. So just kind of real quickly, the Lucifer's children.
We have the repentative ones and the attacking ones. The repentative ones are rebelling against Lucifer, and the attacking ones are powerful. They can move things in your house and physically cause harm. But the repentative ones are basically rebelling against Lucifer, and they are hiding from him. Okay? Kind of a nice little explanation there, right?
Right. So, like I said, we've talked about it other times, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and move down.
Yeah, and if you don't know what we're talking about, we have the whole section on Lucifer's children. And hey, you guys, if anybody's watching, please make sure you're on mute, because we keep on getting a lot of background noise, and we are recording this. And we do have like 18 people, I think, on. So we're having a hard time with some of the background noise. I'm not on mute because I don't know how to do it. Somebody said that they're not mute. Okay, I'm doing everybody's, but it keeps on. I have to keep on kind of like going through the list, unfortunately, to do it. On the bottom left of your screen, if you move your mouse around, there will be an option for video and sound, and you can click on the sound, and it'll mute you.
Yeah, it's great to have.
For the most part, everybody is.
Yeah, it's great to have so many people listening, though. Thanks
thanks
for coming and offering your comments as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and keep moving on down to the next one.
Okay. Oh, the Lucifer's children. Maybe we do need to talk about this a little bit more. Okay, talk a little bit more about what they are. So they are the sons of perdition, and for the most part, their brainwashing is what's going to cause you trouble. Okay, having the ones that are attacking is a little bit more rare. It is possible, and the steps that we have here with the whole tones is really the best way to get them to leave you alone. But this link is going to give you the Merkaba for the Lucifer's children, and it's mostly protecting you against them and protecting you against if you were essentially harboring a fugitive. Because if you have a Lucifer's children within you, with your children, it's usually the children of Lucifer's children. With your animals, it's usually Lucifer's beasts. So as you know, Lucifer didn't actually create these spirits, but when they were cast out of heaven, Lucifer took them on as his own. That's why they're called the sons of perdition, which is the same word as Lucifer's children. They'll muscle test as either one. So it'll mess you up because of the brainwashing. Okay, there's definitely not you, they're brainwashed. And so if they're in you or in your presence or connected to you, that brainwashing is going to be what's messing you up. Okay, because everything is false to them. It's that whole, I'm not sure if I'm getting a inspiration from God, or is this my own thought, or is this deception? Like, I don't even know. And so the more that you get these bigger guys out of your presence, the more that it's clear. You know it's coming from God, and you know it's deception. There's no more question. There's no question if it's your own thought anymore. It is very, very, very clear, and you can get very detailed and all of that in the future. The more that you remove some of these bigger spirits from you. So pretty much everybody, if you have not had the Lucifer's children removed on you, pretty much everybody has one. And how is that possible? I could explain it in detail, but I hate to say it, but I'm not going to have you guys run faster than you have strength. So I'm not going to push you into information that is a little bit more detailed than. So ask Heavenly Father. He'll do better. That's what the prophet always says, right? He's always just like, get your own personal revelation on that one, and you'll understand. So if you're not 100% in your body a lot, and if there is one of the Lucifer's children that is rebelling against Lucifer and they're hiding out, you're basically harboring a fugitive, which is why you need a special Merkaba. Once you do get them out, you're going to need a Merkaba, because now you're guilty as well because you harbored a fugitive. And, you don't want any repercussion attacks. So we can't cast them out. You can't just force them away. You can't missionary work them. Like the steps are in this link. Okay. So the steps are not right here in this document, because this link is probably like 7 pages long, giving you the Lucifer's children, the children of Lucifer's children, and the Lucifer's beasts. And we call the other ones children of Lucifer's children because some of them have not yet developed the title Lucifer's children. Like, it's not like I'm a child of God. I'm a child of God because we are all children of God, and God loves us, and I do not have to earn his love. He loves me no matter what I do with my life, no matter what mistakes I make. But Lucifer's children, you have to actually earn it. So they have to actually work their way up to be able to get that title, which is why we also call the children Lucifer's children, because it has to do with like the the hierarchy. It's just the only way that they'll muscle test. So it's probably the closest understanding that we can get in words or in lingo that will muscle test properly. So as I said, you know, let's say that these sons of perdition are rebelling against Lucifer and they're hiding from him. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. They've been cast out of heaven. They have no clue as to what is even available, but they can see you. And so you're not an easy target, but you're an easy hiding spot. You're like one of the only hiding spots that they can actually go to. And so the steps that we have in this link are very, very, very accurate, and they work. And if you struggle with it, let us know, because I do understand the deeper meaning behind this, and I can communicate with them on their level in a way that I can't quite explain to you guys quite yet. No offense, but it's kind of like a need-to-know basis. So the steps that we have in here work. But if they don't work for some crazy wonky reason, you know, give me a holler, let's do a session, and let's see what we can do to kind of reach them on a different level. Because right here, the attacking ones, we really do need to be aware that there's a possibility that you do have the attacking ones in your presence, the ones that are not just, you know, hiding from their leader. Okay. So hopefully that answers enough questions. And honestly, the comment that came in about like all the different voices and the henchmen, like I really am kind of curious if there is something more to that. Like I'm not fully ready to just presume that those are just regular rebellious spirits. It might be more than that. So it all just depends on if you have removed all the rebellious spirits in your presence and put up your shields. And if you have, and you still have those voices, then I was actually almost wondering, like, the demon voices could be talking if there's a demon, because we know that that's multiple spirits. It could be just the fact that Heavenly Father's like, hey, there's actually more advanced spirits, and you guys need to learn more, which is why we're going to also teach you about the hollow, which isn't written in here, is more things that we have come across that need to be addressed. Like, you probably aren't going to have all of the things that are on this list. You may only have 2, maybe 3 maximum. Like, most of you are going to have to do the Lucifer's children and maybe one other that's on this list. So I really don't know. I haven't heard the term henchman. So that's interesting. Like, I would definitely muscle test to see what that could possibly be. And then listen to the spirit, give us a call. Let's see what we can do, because I'm not sure. It might be something more advanced. Okay. But I'm always willing to learn. All right, shapeshifters. Your turn. You want me to do it?
Go ahead.
Okay. This one's kind of hard to explain. We had a couple people contact us saying that they were aware that shapeshifters exist, like, in the mortal body, and had been having difficulties with those attacks. So this isn't common. We don't commonly come across a shapeshifter. This is going to be a lot more rare of a situation that you're going to have to deal with. Did you explain the alternate spirits enough, you think?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can only explain so much. So with the shapeshifters, it works. These are weird steps. Like, we were asking Heavenly Father about some of the more advanced spirits, and we were like, okay, are there more than what we have on the list? Please help us to know if there are more than that are on the list. And then it was kind of cool, because automatically we learned of 3 within like 24 hours. We weren't under attack, but we learned. And one of them was that somebody else had a vision of a snake. Another one was I had a dream of a pregnancy, and the child kept changing. Like, I had the baby, and I'm like, no, that's not how I was going to, like, you don't just push one time and have no pain and tie the umbilical cord with a shoestring. Like, that's not quite how it works. And then it shifted, and I'm like, this is so weird. Like, I wasn't changing it. I was not having a lucid dream. I was not altering anything. I was observing, and I was speculating in my dream. And in the dream, I'm like, why would my child have dark hair and tan skin? My first husband, maybe, but this is a now with Paul. So why would a child have dark hair, long dark hair with dark skin? No, my baby is probably going to be light haired with pasty white skin. And I'm kind of sitting there going, that's really strange. And if I was going to be doing a home birth, I wouldn't have done it in the way that I had it in my dream. Like, this is so off. And then it kept changing and it was still wrong. See, if it was changing because I was changing it, it would have been correct. But it was changing, like if it was lucid, okay? But it wasn't lucid because it kept changing and it kept being wrong over and over and over. And finally, after like 8 or 9 changes, I'm like, okay, this is just ridiculous. And I woke up and I'm like, what was that? And that's when we learned a little bit more about shapeshifters, because we have tried working on this with some other clients in the past, and had learned some steps, but this was a lot more detailed, because that's when we realized that Heavenly Father is giving us that the cherubim that guards our home allowed one in specifically so we could learn how to remove them properly. And this was strange. Like, the words that I heard and that I understand and that were shown to me was not what I would expect, but it worked. So if this is something that you have, please feel free to read through that one. And really, we're just not giving you the step by step in this class, but it's all here. You're welcome to read it as you're watching the video. You can pause it and read it, or just go to spiritcode.net and click on the unfinished materials. It'll probably be there for a little while. If you're watching this video like months in the future, because right now it's August of 2018, if you're watching this months in the future and it's no longer there, and you're like, it's in the advanced section, I'm not ready for advanced section, I can just link you the couple of steps that you need. So if you're watching this video and you're like, I'm probably not ready for everything in the advanced section, but I want the Merkabas and I need this list, just give us a Facebook message, send us a text, send us an email, and we can just link the ones that you need as opposed to everything, okay? So really do try to explain everything in all the documents. Okay.
Okay, the serpent. I don't even know how to explain this one. But the serpent is related to Lucifer, okay?
It is, but it's also kind of a literal type of spirit. It's like the spirit took on the shape of a serpent.
So what I did in the explanation here, again, I just made it as simple as possible.
Actually, and I tweaked it and made it a little bit more detailed, but still.
Okay, and so basically the snake that was in the Garden of Eden is still under the influence of Lucifer, and is still...
But also the serpent also refers to Lucifer directly as well. Yeah. It's kind of strange how we've come across this. Some people literally see a snake. They actually see like a big, dangerous spiritual snake. So if that is something that you have seen, these steps work. They're I have to say, so down here, bend down on your knees and bow your head while facing the serpent. So you have your eyes closed and your head bowed in front of the serpent. That's scary. I'm sorry. No matter how you look at it, that is scary. But we are told you can't look. And so don't look. And I have to say that there's been 3 times I've done a spirit rescue in one of the demonic realms where I had to cloak my face. I had to cloak my body and put on a blindfold because I could not see. I was told, close your eyes. You're not allowed to see. Like, not my physical eyes, but my spiritual eyes. And I'm like, how am I supposed to do the work without being able to see spiritually? Like, you want me to fly double blind? How am I supposed to fly double blind? And so I would ask for a cloak because it's just too difficult. It's too difficult if you know how to do your spiritual sight and spiritual traveling, and then you try to do the same thing without seeing. It's such a fine line between knowing what's in your presence, knowing what you need to do, knowing what's going on, and actually seeing it with your eyes. I can do it without looking, but it happens in just a split second where I accidentally am connecting with my spiritual eyes. So putting on the blindfold and then getting on your knees, bowing down, and closing your eyes is a very difficult task to do when you're doing this serpent. But putting that mirror over your head and asking for that light of Christ to bounce off the mirror, it's gone. Like, that's all I had to do when I came across the serpent. And then I sent this to 2 or 3 other people, and they did the steps, and it worked just like that as well. So I don't believe this needs more steps, but if it does, it's an unfinished material for a reason, right? And sometimes when there's not a whole lot of steps, it means that Heavenly Father just kind of gave us the baby steps. Like, here's some baby steps. This will get you started. You'll learn more later. So that's kind of what I'm thinking with the serpent. We'll learn more later. These are the baby steps for now. Okay. And then, let's see. Sherry did it last night. Thank you, Sherry, for commenting on that. Okay. So the other one that we have not yet documented that we are currently working on documenting is called the hollow. Do you want to say anything about the hollow?
All right. So the hollow is one that has had its heart removed and the chakras removed. And so the reason why
rejected it.
Yeah.
They pretty much rejected it because it's the goodness and they want to succeed with their evil plan.
And so this is actually the case with many of the anti-gods, but a hollow isn't quite to that level. So a hollow, and there's many reasons why this may have taken place. Okay, so with the hollow, when you want to work with them, what you need to do is make sure that you return their heart and their chakras, okay? And that's because when you return their heart and chakras, you can start working with them on more of an intelligent level, because the heart takes away their emotions, okay? So they're going to be very, you can't connect with them emotionally. So when you work with them, let's say you want to communicate to them God's plan, they're just going to be so cut off to it, because emotionally it's not going to have any meaning to them, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's why they're called a hollow, because their emotions are just so shallow, it's hard to communicate effectively with them.
Well, they don't have that. Yeah, they don't have that heart. Yeah, the humanity's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it borderline impossible to actually communicate with them.
Yeah, and so the chakras are a big part of that too, because the chakras are
that life source.
Yeah, communications that can be hooked up to God, essentially. Okay, so God feeds us information
keeps
and love.
Keeps your spirit going.
Yeah. Through the chakras. And so the chakras, it communicates energy and intelligence into the remainder of the spirit. And so having the heart and the chakras are critical in being able to work with this hollow, okay? Mm-hmm. And so here's the thing about binding spirits. If you bind a spirit, which has been practiced by some
programs,
people, when you bind them, what happens is it breaks them down and it begins to remove their heart and their chakras. So essentially,
you're creating a hollow.
You are creating a hollow, which makes them a much harder spirit to deal with.
It makes them really dangerous. It takes them from a spirit with some humanity and turns them into a monster or a creature.
Yeah. So remember when we were talking about the spirit war, our goal here is actually to turn them towards God. That's the war, is bringing as many souls to Christ.
Or agree to disagree and respect the opposition. But, to kind of put up those boundaries, like, okay, here's my boundary. Sorry, you're not coming past. I've chosen God, and I'm not going to be swayed in this. But they don't respect that.
Yeah.
So that's where we want to work with them to get to that point. It's like any other conflict that you have with a spouse. Like, we're all here learning, and that conflict, for the most part, never has a positive, successful result when you're working. Like, if you're arguing with your kids, with your husband, like, conflicts never really create connection and love and bonding and growth and togetherness. And so we recognize that it's the same thing with the spirits. We're not going to use conflict resolution, or we're not going to use attacking and blame and pain and torture as a way to win a conflict with a rebellious spirit any more than you should with your spouse. Okay, so here's a sad story. I was talking to a lady, I don't know, 2 years ago, who did energy work, and she was not of my religion, but she was doing energy work, and I was trying to get to know some of the people in our area who practice energy work, and one of them said, she was telling me what she does with the different, like, I can't remember what she called them, the dark spirits, the different dark spirits that that are in your presence. And she would say that she would take them and she would bind them, and she would keep them bound in her presence until she had drained the life source from them. And so she said most of the spirits in her presence that are bound have been there for 10 or 20 or so years. And as soon as their life source is drained, they finally depart and they're gone. And it, I don't know about you guys, but if you hear something like that, let's get real here. First of all, she just created a hollow. As soon as they've been bound long enough, that creates the hollow. And that has created a monster that is stronger than what she knows how to remove. Second fact is, let's look at this in a very godly perspective. Okay, we are all brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter if you're a son of perdition. It doesn't matter if you are an anti-God. It doesn't matter if you are here in your mortal body, if you are in spirit prison or spirit paradise. We are all brothers and sisters of our Heavenly Father. And we have been told to judge nobody, love everybody, and forgive everybody. And the Heavenly Father did never say, except for this person, these people, all these different. And so I have come across enough of these big bad guys that once they became, and when I say big bad guys, anybody on that list that we just went through, once they got in touch with their humanity, I learned their story. And that is when, it's always amazing how they teach me their story. Like, it's usually in a dream because I'm less distracted by life, by my kids, by bills and clients and work and everything else that I do with my time. And so I will get to see their stories. And you guys, it's us. It's heartbreaking. It's trials. It's traumas. It's life. There has been so many stories that I wake up just in tears. And here it goes, because I'm thinking of one lady in particular that was sharing with me her story. And it's, imagine like all of your traumas compiled together, and after you die being so angry and so hurt and so upset. And there's a woman here who might be watching this video, and if you do, I hope that it helps other people to understand this perspective, because it really helped me to understand this perspective. She really wanted the person who had hurt her as a child to walk a day in her shoes, or walk through the different traumas that they had inflicted upon her. And that was something she was very desirous that Heavenly Father would do, is during the judgment or in the afterlife, making sure that that person knows how much pain and suffering that they caused her, and that they experienced it as the victim, or as she experienced it. And it had overwhelmed her. It had overcome the last 20 years of her life, to the point where that it has made her sick. It has made her miserable. It has made it so that it was restricting her ability to really come closer to God, and to be able to experience the light and the love and the healing dynamic that is available to her. And we were talking, and I was like, I hate to say this, but where are you going to be if you died tomorrow? If you are focusing on all of this anger that you have towards this person, and all of this pain and all of this trauma and all of these trials, and your desire for them to pay and to suffer, do you really feel that is going to surround you with light and love? And do you really think that you are going to find yourself in spirit paradise? Because after you die, you have not yet been judged. The judgment is not for a while. And so a lot of the spirits in spirit prison are there due to self-punishment. They're there because they are so filled with pain and sorrow and regret and revenge and trauma that they can't see anything else. They can't think of anything else. That's all that they can focus on, is that darkness and that pain and that suffering. And where do you see yourself? I was working with this guy, and it was amazing. He was not spiritual. He was not Christian, but he believed that we have a spirit. And I'm like, okay, we can connect then. I can work with you. If you believe that we have a spirit, we absolutely have something in common, and we can talk. And And as we started talking about the difference between those in spirit prison and those in spirit paradise. That in spirit paradise, you're in God's presence. Spirit prison, you're not. Like, kind of simple, right? And so it has everything to do with what you focus on. If you're focusing on all the darkness and you see yourself in a dark place and as a bad person, where do you see yourself? And he was saying that he saw his wife and daughter in, or child, I don't remember if it was daughter or son, in spirit prison. He sees them. He sees his wife and child in spirit paradise. Absolutely. He's like, they are light. They are amazing. They are absolutely deserving of being in heaven with God. And I said, well, what about you? And he's like, oh, I've done so many bad things in my life. Absolutely. He's like, there's no way that I will be in God's presence. He's like, I will absolutely be in spirit prison because that's where I belong. And I was like, let's talk about the people that you spend your time with, the people that you surround yourself with. And he's like, well, my friends are really dark. They're really bad. They've done bad things. All of them have been to prison. All of them have made a lot of bad choices in their life. And he's like, that's just where I feel like I fit in. And that's what I was asking him, where do you feel like you fit in? He's like, with my friends, in the darkness, in spirit prison. I said, but if your wife and child are in spirit paradise and you're in spirit prison, you're not together. How do you feel about that? And he's like, oh, crud. It's like, I don't like that idea. I want to be with them. And I'm like, but do you want them in spirit prison with you? And he's like, no, they don't belong there. They belong in the light. I'm like, do you feel like you belong in a light, holy, godly place? And he's like, no. And I'm like, so what are we going to do? He's like, oh my gosh, I have a lot to think about right now. And I'm like, well, let's start doing it now. Instead of waiting until you are a spirit, let's do it now. Let's make the changes you need to make now to be in that place of light and to be in spirit paradise with your wife and your child. And it was like one of the most powerful, like when I was done, I called up Paul and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had like the best call ever. Like it was so spiritual and it was so beautiful that we were just able to make those different steps like that, just that recognition, that awareness. And this is what we're doing with most of the spirits, is we're recognizing they have a story. They have been through life. Maybe they've done bad things. If you have had, let's say you've been raped and you had an abortion, and when you were a teenager, you got a few tattoos and you stole a couple of things, and now you've turned yourself over to God, but you still have this darkness that you're like, I still don't deserve the atonement. I still don't deserve God's forgiveness. Like, I messed up really, really bad, and I did horrible things, and horrible things happened to me, and I'm not clean anymore. I don't belong in a clean space. And so think about these spirits that we're dealing with. The longer that they're in prison, the darker they get. The more that they focus on their trauma, the darker they get. The more that they want revenge against the person who destroyed their whole life, the darker they get. Let's say in the destruction before the second coming, somebody comes into your home, takes all your food, kills your husband, and takes your children as slaves and leaves you alone. Would you die happy? Would you die filled with peace? Or are you probably going to die miserable and sad and angry and wanting revenge and wanting to get your children back and wanting that guy to really suffer for what he did and how he destroyed your family? So we need to look at this on a very realistic situation. The ones that have been dark for a very, very long time are a lot harder to understand. Once they're hollows, they don't even remember being human. For the most part, all hollows are disembodied. I have not come across any hollows that are sons of perdition. Sons of perdition are a whole nother ballgame, and you can really only work with the ones that are rebelling against Lucifer. The ones that are attacking, there's nothing you can do. Like, we remove them, you do the whole tones that are in the step, that is it. There is nothing else that you can do to adjust their course. They are the opposition. If you look at it the way that when Eve and Adam and Eve left the garden, it was a choice. Like, they chose to experience the good and the bad. So if you look at the sons of perdition as necessary opposition, like, we just can't touch certain things. Certain things have to be there for proper balance. So you have to wait for, that recognition. You have to wait for somebody that is ready for that next step before you can really make progress, which is why some of the steps that we do are straightforward and just removals, and some of them are teaching opportunities. So, yeah, Helen, yes, the answer to your question, yeah, of course he was. Okay, so does anybody have any questions before we finish up in this particular section, talking about some of the more scary advanced spirits? And if somebody has taught you to bind spirits, it's really just a learning, like we're all just learning what we're ready for. And kind of like I was just showing you with like the serpent, and I'm looking at it going, it worked, but it's kind of small. My thoughts are, it's just the beginner steps. So very similar to everything that we learn in life, we learn in a step-by-step format. You're not going to learn to run faster than you have strength. So Heavenly Father is not going to give you all of the mysteries of his kingdom, bam, just like that. Like it would overwhelm you. It could probably fry your brain and, hurt you very severely. So how can you learn it bit by bit? And so if somebody's ever taught you to bind spirits, that's all that they knew at the time. Because some of these bigger, more advanced spirits are beyond casting out. But there's repercussions. There's negative repercussions, negative consequences to that tactic. Like that, it worked, it's temporary, but it's meant to be temporary. It's not meant to be a permanent binding. And think about it. That means that we would be a part of the spirit war. And if you don't want to be on a negative side of the spirit war, try not to do anything negative such as that. So, if you look at it that way, like it just dawned on me one day, I'm like, oh my goodness, we really are part of the spirit war. If we're going about and literally hurting the spirits. I mean, think about if you were a spirit and you were like looking for the light, you're lost. And you come across this woman's house that is just filled with light and love and peace and positivity, and it feels so good, but you are just filled with pain and trauma and sorrow and heartache, and you're like, God forgot me, God rejected me, I'm here all alone, and I don't even know where to go. And you go to this woman's house that's filled with light and love, and you come into her presence and you're like, oh, peace, this feels good. And then she casts you out. And she's like, boom, and pushes you out of her presence. Or she wraps you up and ties you up because you're an evil, rebellious spirit. And you're just like, why are you doing this? Why are you attacking me more? Haven't I been through enough? God, why are you allowing this to happen? This is horrible. This is awful. Like you cause more anger with these rebellious spirits. We don't want to do that. We want to be a part of the spirit war in such a way that we are bringing things down and helping in a more godly perspective. Okay, so Angela said, can negative emotions, doubts, fears prevent someone, for lack of a better word, to be an empath? Okay. Do you want to answer that question?
Actually, I think I need to understand a little bit better. I think I might have a hard time
so if you feel as though you are an empath, but maybe you're struggling with that connection, what we actually recommend, Angela, is we usually do the hands-on Neura technique, where we are awakening up your chakras, organizing your energy, and converting all the negative energy from around you into positive energy. My daughter's calling me. And so in doing so, that can help you to organize the energy that is coming in such a way that you don't have those barriers and those fears and those boundaries restricting you from being able to access those different spiritual gifts. So I recommend starting there and then working on some different trauma. Oh, your husband's question. Yeah, that's great. And then start working on some of the different traumas. Because if you have a festering wound with being an empath, like maybe you came across one that we've had a couple of you guys say that you've had some other energy workers or empaths that will spiritually travel into your space and like mess with your energy without your choice. So there are definitely some fears or some different traumas or blocks that you will have. So I recommend we have a tapping sequence called the emotional memory release. We also have in self-sabotage step 4, there is a step called search and rescue. That is a fantastic visualization. So these are your trauma visualizations. And then do the hands-on Neura technique in the energy section. And that is going to help you with the energy, your own energy, organizing it so that you can receive in a more godly manner. So that's what I recommend. Okay. I'm going to answer my daughter, who has called me now 5 times. If you want to go ahead, if there's any more questions, you're welcome to take yourself off mute. Otherwise, we're going to move over to energies. And we're not going to take a lot of time on energies because we're already almost at 2 hours, and we don't want to make you guys wait too long. I think we just want to help some of you guys who've had a few questions come in recently about the energies, like unaware about how we do energies and what the perspective is, how to remove them, like what are we doing here? Okay. So, if you've got an initial consult done and you have a grid that has a whole bunch of different energies listed, what do you do now? Okay. Can you pull that up, and I'm gonna figure out what's going on with my kiddo.
I'm gonna put this back on share screen. So I'm going to jump back over here to the front of the program. And when we click on these energies right here, it's going to take you to a list. All right. Another room, please. Okay. So first off, when we take a look at this, you may want to look at this and say, hey, what's going on with this? It's a list of energies, and I don't know what I'm really looking at. So actually click on each one of them. And so I bring that up because you don't stop right there, all right? You don't just look at it and just identify which energies you have. Let me jump back once again. These energies are larger type of energies. They're like bulk energies, and they're like there are categories within categories within categories.
So don't emotion code it, because we're doing a bigger picture. Right. Okay, it's just a totally different perspective. I know the lists might look a little bit similar, but make sure you click on all the words, because they do take you to step-by-step formats to make sure that, because you're removing like millions, like he was saying.
Yeah, so I'm just going to use this as an example. So clicking on the first one is going to be the dark energies. And so once you get to the dark energies, just scroll down a little bit. And inside—
We're always adding to this list, by the way.
Yeah, inside of this, you're going to have a grid here, and you can identify which one of these you have. So let's say you do the muscle testing and you identify that you have the deprived dark energy. So what you can do is ask, do I have any energies in column A? But most likely, if you're starting out with it, you will probably have at least one or two. So just go down. So it might be best to just actually go through it and muscle test every one of these in here. And just to give you a heads up, sometimes your subconsciousness doesn't want to identify some of these. So as an example, the hidden one, you're going to have to bring it to light before you test it. Or you may also want to bring to light the truth of it as well. And you may even need to muscle test through proxy with an angel. Okay, so with that, like the hidden one, the deceived one, and there's like one more, I believe. And it's mentioned, I think, up here in the notes. So just go through and muscle test and find out which ones you have. So let's go ahead and just click on the deceived one. So once you go into the deceived dark energy, you're going to have this document right here, and you're going to have to go through the steps with it. And so it may take, depending on the energy, it may only take 15 to 20 minutes. And if it's your first time and going through a longer one, it may take up to an hour. And so just be prepared for that. So keep in mind, like what I was saying is that when you remove these energies, you're removing a lot of energies at once. And so just going through this document right here for the removal of the deceived dark energy, you may end up removing up to 1 million different energies and components associated with it, okay? So taking up to an hour is certainly worth the time to do it, all right? So you may have, let's say 10 to 15 dark energies. you may want to spread out and do like one a day, okay? Or maybe one every other day. You don't have to rush through them and do them all at the same time, okay? And so just pace yourself. And I bring up the dark energies because it's one of the ones that we want to focus on kind of up front, because they tend to be affecting us the most severe, like within the spirit, mind, body. Okay, so there are other ones that are really important to do, but the dark energies tend to hit us the hardest. So with that, I want to go into a few different ones here. So the control energies, we want to make this a little bit quicker for you too. So recently, Melissa created what we call a quick view. So with this, there are maybe dozens of different types of control energies, and we provide a list of like maybe 6 or 7 of them. And so you could go through those individually, but if you want to go through and just try to knock out as many as possible, as quickly as possible, you could go through the control energies quick view. But I would also actually recommend still going through the steps for...
well, all the peace offering steps are still here.
Yeah.
All the steps are still there. It's just a matter of doing it with everybody at the same time. That's when we do a large room with everybody at the same time. You only need to go through the these particular steps except for controlling, because you still need to do that. If like it's really big, like a real big bad problem.
Right. I would recommend going through some of these though, just to be familiar with them. To get familiar with what the purpose is. Like as an example,
this one's very different, the controlling.
Yeah. As an example, the shutdown energy. You may want to go through that just to identify how it might be affecting you. So as an example, if you just feel like really lethargic, like you have no energy, the motivation day to day is really difficult for you, like you just don't want to even get out of bed.
Or when you get in conflict, you just literally shut down to the point where you feel like you're hollow and empty.
Yeah, so the shutdown energy, you may want to read through as an example just to get familiar with the emotions involved in that.
Like I recommend the quick view as a cleanup of the past, and then with your maintenance doing these actual steps, except the control linkers. That one, like for the most part, everybody needs to do at some point. And
so when a lot of times when you get involved in a conflict, you may need to review these again, because these can be easily created at times of conflict. Okay. So yes,
for real.
So they're even, we mentioned them in our conflict resolution steps as well. All right, so
each of these, like not all of them, when you click on them is there more, but a lot of them do. Like some of them, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to mention like an example, like the translucent, the rogue, the sleep energies.
It's only concepts of reality energy.
Yeah, it's only one document that you have to go through. And just go through everything in there. So you don't even have to...
It just happens to be its own category. That's why it's where it is.
Yeah, you don't really have to muscle test those when it's in just one document. Just go through everything in there.
Right. And Concepts Reality has its own little training video here. And it's just one. It's one big step that we are working on. It has to do with the 7 deadly sins and the iron rod and the tree of life. But like he said, like if you click on veil energies, for instance, they're self-created veils, not like the veil of forgetfulness that gives us protection. There's different types of veils. These are not nearly as detailed as like the dark energies, but we usually recommend going through the free will veil release first. So if you test that you have like 20 veil energies, we always recommend just do the free will release. And if you still need to do one in particular, fantastic, they're down here below. So if you didn't catch that, let's say you're in the confused energy section. This is going to be great if you have dementia, if you have ADD, if you have obsessive compulsive, whatever it is that you might be experiencing. It's like kind of confusing the switches and some of the different feeds that are in your mind. You need to click on it. This is not, like I said, don't emotion code it. Click on it. And then it actually has all of the steps in great detail. And we do have some other videos that actually are explaining the different energies. And I think it's actually, did you even go over that yet?
No.
Okay. In the energy section, look, if you scroll down, there's a video. I don't know how old it is, and I'm not sure how out of date it is, but
it's probably still very useful.
For the most part, pretty accurate. And then there's the explanation down here. And so if you have no idea how we're handling these energies, go ahead and read this explanation and get yourself pretty familiar. We've definitely added a ton since we've done that video and that explanation. But like he said, it's still relevant. Here's that hands-on neuro technique that I was talking about, that if you have that fear of, like if you believe that you're an empath, but you don't actually have any of the empath abilities, and so you're wondering if fear is kind of blocking it, here's the hands-on neuro that's going to help you with awakening up those chakras, organizing your energy, and converting some of the external energy. And once you have that energy organization, it's going to be a whole lot less scary to take on the energy of other people. And like we had in the unfinished material, like the stuck energy coming from other people, control energy is energy that you send to others and they send to you. So not all energy is something you created. However, one of the common misconceptions are people that believe that everything that they are experiencing is due to generational, inherited, or an attack from spirits. Like, that is the victim cycle. Once you can take that accountability, that I've been through trauma, I've been through trials, I have made some bad choices in my life, I have participated in conflict, I have some growth to do. Like, I need to fine tune myself to becoming more like Christ. Like, if I was crucified and if I was tortured, I probably wouldn't be praying for the bad guy as he's killing me. So I still need some fine tuning. I'm still not 100% there. So I want you to just kind of recognize that your spirit is fine-tuned. So if your physical body is not fine-tuned, it is an opportunity for you to learn and progress. And really, and to tell you the truth, like, your spirit's still growing too. Your spirit is still learning from this experience and from these opportunities and from this opposition. Like, it's really giving you that growth that your spirit may or may not have already had. So fine-tuning your mind and your thoughts and your emotions is critical. That's another reason why we really recommend the sabotage steps, is it helps. It's not going to like make you another person, but it helps. And so combining those with the energies, you're going to have a lot more success at removing all of the darkness that is bogging you down, whether it's your mind, your spirit, your body, your energy, your energetic body, your energy fields, whatever it is that's being bogged down. Taking all of these steps will definitely help. Knowing which steps you need to take comes with practice. You know, like I said, if it's coming from somebody else, I can tell you it's a control energy, it's a stuck energy, or it is control energy or stuck energy, or we had just said it like a few minutes ago. He wasn't listening. That's okay. I love you very much. But like, the dark energies are mostly going to be a result of your thought patterns. And the dark energies, I have to say, are some of the most important energies to overcome. We usually recommend the dark and the control first. That's why they're the first two on that list. They just tend to be the most destructive to your experience in this life. So like we said, don't emotion code it. Click on it. And each one has a full write-up of information. No, just to emotion code. I just mean don't do just the swipe that, you know, that's all you need to do. There's a whole bit with how you share the energy, how sometimes it is going to be passed down through family, but you still participated in it. So let's say your mom has that, like, I just want to run away from all my problems. And that is something she's always done. And then you participate in it. You don't just remove the energy and that thought pattern is gone. Like, it has now become a part of you as well. Whether your mother originated it or not, it is still a thought pattern of yours. So the problem is the energy is shared. If it is shared, if it is learned, if if it is currently being transferred between the two of you, then it is not just you who are working on, but the more that you take that accountability that, oh yeah, I have definitely participated in that. I learned it from my mom. She originated it. She's still participating in it. But if I'm going to stop it, I need to deal with all the different angles. I need to deal with the fact that it's my current thought pattern. I need to deal with the fact that it's a result of the traumas that I've experienced. It's that fight, flight, or freeze that I need to overcome. And it's a living energy, so it is a current thought pattern. So when I remove this energy, I need to do some sabotage steps as well to be able to shift my thought pattern to not recreate the same energy over and over and over and over again. And so once you deal with the connection and inherited top portion, you still have your portion. You still have the part that you have participated in. And this is where it's really hard for some people because it's easier to see that it was created by somebody else and it's influencing you because of an attack or somebody else. And it's a lot harder to take that accountability that, yes, I participated in it too. Yes, it started with somebody else, but I participated in it. Or yes, it's a result of a really horrible trauma that happened to me, but I still participated in it. And I still have to overcome the results, right? I still have to overcome the consequences of those thought pattern choices. So, and it's hard. Okay, that is fine. I just gotta, some people are saying they gotta get going. It's really hard to take that humble, what was that? That just popped up. That's funny.
It must be on the draw.
It's really hard to kind of take that humble approach because it's a lot easier to see it as somebody else's problem. But remember that's what we're dealing with in the sabotage steps as well, is that we are working on turning that around so that if you want to change something in your life, you can. If it is somebody else's fault, you can't change it. Because you're always waiting on somebody else to make that change. That's why we want to make that shift. It's not because I want to push you down and make you feel bad about yourself. It's because you can't make a change if all the power is in somebody else's hands. So work on that accountability and making those changes, and you will be able to start seeing those shifts in your life. So, okay, I know that we're starting to lose people because we have gone on a little bit over 2 hours, so we definitely want to wrap this up. We always like to stay on just a little bit afterwards to kind of answer any questions anybody has, help kind of lead you and guide you. So if you're watching a replay of this and you're like, I am having such a hard time figuring this out, I'm still lost, come to replay. Make sure that you're on our Spirit Code Facebook page. You would have gotten an email invitation when you first joined. If you're not on our Spirit Code Facebook page and you are on Facebook, then contact us and I can get you a link to that in case the email got lost in the mix. And that's totally okay. Really, the only thing that we do on the Spirit Code Facebook page is we give you the updates. We give you the information for these classes. I give you the announcements for any additional classes we might be doing. All the replay videos are there as well as on Spirit Code. It's really just a way to get into these classes, having that Zoom link. And I did send an email to everybody at one point, like a month or so back. So unless you're new, you would have gotten an email that gave you the advanced link for these replays. So for as of right now, this particular link will work every single Saturday, but it's only during the time that we're doing class because it's just a live feed. This is like if you're doing FaceTime. So if you want to watch the replay, you can't click on the Zoom link because that'll just take you to like a FaceTime call that's no longer available. So we have to download and upload. We have to download this video, which takes a couple of hours, and we have to upload it to YouTube, and then we have to post it. So sometimes it takes all day because as soon as our computer goes into power save, it automatically stops. So we have to literally be on the computer the whole time for it to actually finish its steps. So it does take us a little bit of time, and I apologize for the delay that most of you have to wait on. But if anybody has any remaining questions, we may spend next week or one of the other weeks coming up soon just going over an energy release so that you have all of the steps outlined and detailed, and we can talk about like why. Why is there so many steps? Why is it so thorough? Why is it so detailed? And what can you do a little bit differently to maybe make it work a little bit better for you? How can you make some changes to make it work better for you? So we'll probably do that here in the next couple of weeks. We're doing it based upon what God tells us we need to teach that day. Today it was the advanced spirits. So if you're still under attack, like if you're still shaking, let us know. and we can help you, but I recommend just go through some of the different steps, because I'm presuming it's due to something that's in your presence. But I did work on sharing some shielding with all of the people that are watching, and I hope that helped everybody, and duplicating some of those Merkabas for any of you that did reach out asking for those duplicates. Okay, so while we're still recording, does anybody have any questions? Which means that there'd be recorded answers. And if not, we'll go ahead and turn it off, but that way you can have a little bit more private questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is Sherry. Can you work on other people even though you don't have your stuff all done? Can you still help other people work on other people?
What do you think? I could answer it.
It was a little bit breaking
if
up.
If you still have a bunch of stuff that you need to do on you, can you help others?
Yeah, of course. You certainly can. Yeah.
It is so healing. I just wouldn't do it if you're in the middle of conflict. So if you are in the middle of like an argument with your spouse, and you're in a really, really dark place that day, I wouldn't work on somebody because it can negatively influence them. But if you have like a big long list of stuff that you need to do and you're in a good enough space, please do it. And in fact, it heals you too. It's always so powerful to me. Like if I need to do a sabotage, I'll do it with the group, and it'll help me just as much as it's helping everybody else. So you can even tag team up, Jerry. So let's say that you have some dark energies you need to do on you, and your best friend does as well. Go ahead and call her up and do the steps together. Absolutely. I think that we're all a team here. You know, we're all just one big tribe of brothers and sisters helping each other, and it's incredibly healing to go through those steps for somebody else, and you will reap the benefits as well. Okay, I just kind of think of myself when I'm going through it, where I'm like, okay, I want a little bit of this too. So I'm releasing it for them, and I'm like, me too. I'm releasing this on me as well. Today it was a bad day. And I've got to get rid of this shutdown energy, or I've got to get rid of, you know, this discouragement, dark energy. And so the only time that I would say it's not going to work is if your spirit is only like 1% in your body and you're drained and you're exhausted and you're in conflict and you have all of this coming at you. Like I have to usually cancel my appointments when I have a day like that. So as long as your spirit is mostly in your body, and as long as you're not in conflict, you're fine. And you're welcome to go ahead and do this with others. So if you're watching this and you're like, I really want to start helping other people, like this is amazing. This program is so amazing. I'm excited. I'm still learning how to do everything, but I know my way around and I know a lot of the basics. I really want to start like helping, because that's my goal. I'm like, you guys, we're all going to be going to New Jerusalem together. We all need to be ready for the higher law together. If you wait until you're 100% ready, it'll never happen. If I wait until we have money, it'll never happen. If I wait until, you know, if you wait to have kids until you feel like you're mature enough and responsible enough, it's never going to happen. So same thing with this, like just do it. When you understand enough, please just take it and help others as fast as you possibly can. There are so many people who are suffering who do not need to suffer. And you know what? There was that question about the binding of spirits. If whoever it was who said that, I can't remember who said it. If you're still here and you have anything that you want to say about that, because I don't want to like totally diss something that you had been taught by somebody else without understanding maybe the perspective or presuming the way that you were taught. Like if you would like to ask any questions about that, please feel free, and kind of share, share a little bit more, or anybody else who's watching, if you want to take yourself off mute and say anything, please do. Do 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 do.
Okay.
Do we have to go all the way to the end?
No.
Okay.
I think that's it. You're right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for watching and listening, and we hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great day, week. Hope you enjoy the program and receiving the benefits from it.
All right.
Thank you so much. Love you guys so much.
All right. Bye. We love you too. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate you. Bye-bye.